Hello Booktube, it's Roz here for a quick tag for Tag Tuesday. But before I get to any tagging, I'm going to belatedly wish the mothers of Booktube Happy Mother's Day. Now, a whole chunk of people out there will be thinking, what do you mean Happy Mother's Day? It's not Mother's Day till April or May or whenever it is Mother's Day in your part of the world. But here in the UK, Mother's Day happens on the fourth Sunday in Lent. So yesterday, when I'm recording this, Sunday, was Mother's Day. And why on earth do we have it on the fourth Sunday in Lent? Because it used to be a religious festival, Mothering Sunday, and it wasn't even to do with your human mother, really. It was a day when you went back to visit your mother church, like where you were baptised, or your local cathedral. But that did lead to kind of like family reunions and a chance to see your mother, and the two got kind of associated in people's minds. And yeah, it became our Mother's Day. So yeah, happy Mother's Day, Booktube mothers. And Kelly of Books I'm Not Reading tagged me in this tag that I'm about to do, a little literary tag. But the other thing she's done this month is set a St. Patrick's Day challenge to us to do shout-outs for Booktubes under 1,000 subscribers, like me. But yeah, so in honour of Mother's Day, I'm going to shout out and also tag for my tag three booktube mothers. I'm going to try and kind of do a St. Patrick's Day challenge shout out in sort of every video I do this month, if that makes sense. So mother number one is Courtney Ferreter, and what a clever, well-informed reading person she is, and I can only presume that she's a mother because she describes herself at the start of every video as America's Jewish mother. So, and then at the end she reminds us to call her mother, which would be nice if my mother was still alive. I'd call her if I could. It would be a bit spooky if I tried, but I'm with the spirit of it. Number two is Heather of Soggy, Expat, Book Nerd, and Heather is such a funny, charming booktuber who definitely should have more subscribers. And I know she's a mother because her daughter kind of pops up, little blonde cutie, in some of her videos, and she also talks about reading with her as well as her adult reading in a really nice way. She's also often eating her lunch really messily. Yeah, which makes me feel slightly less kind of mucky and disorganised myself. Thank you, Heather. And mother number three is Barb of the Font, who again we know is a mother because Isabella, her daughter, is the invisible presence in the font, her partner in crime, as it were. And I love mother daughter combinations on booktube because my fourth person I'm going to tag is Tilly, my daughter, and thanking her for the very lovely Mother's Day present she made to me, which was the dedication of a newly planted tree somewhere. I won't ever get to see it. It's a kind of bit like a virtual tree, but the spirit of the idea was lovely. So those are who I'm tagging in this tag, which is a little literary tag. And as I say, I was tagged by Kelly, but the tag was created by Mark of Book Time with Elvis. And Mark, in a sort of shocking display of confidence, has only been on BookTube about a week and has already done two original tags. But fortunately, they're good ones. So good on you, Mark. And I particularly like this one, so I was really pleased to be tagged. So, prompt number one. Tolkien once said that cellar door is the most beautiful expression in English. What do you think is the most beautiful word or phrase in English or any language? Well, first of all, because I'm terribly pedantic, I just have to say that Tolkien didn't actually say that. What he said, and I'm sure Mark knows this, was that he was referring to the fact that it's almost was an accepted idea that if you take the words cellar door and kind of don't think about what they mean, just think about the sound, that they how beautiful they are. He was actually talking, Heather would be pleased to know this, he was actually talking about Welsh at the time and how many words in Welsh have that lovely sound or euphonious quality. So my choice of word that I think is beautiful is euphonious, which is what Tolkien was saying cellar door is. And it's a lovely, isn't it? A lovely word, a word for something sounding beautiful. Question number two. What words in English do you find most amusing? Flibberty-gibbet is a big favourite of mine, and one of the things I love about that as a word is that it goes right back to kind of like Middle English in origin, and that beginning bit, the flip bit, is the same root as the word flippant, and I'm often flippant, I have to admit. I also like balderdash and tittle tattle, yeah, both of which been used since at least the 16th century. English is a great language. I love English. Um, Question number 3. Have you memorised any poems in full to whip out now and then to impress your friends? Well, I have 2 problems with this question. Okay, problem number 1 is my appalling memory. You will know if you have a conversation with me that regularly at some point I will say that author, that book, that person that lives down the road, and then it's gone. The name. So memorising poems, bit of a challenge. And the other problem is I've obviously got the wrong kind of friends, because I can't imagine them being impressed if I whipped out reciting a poem to them. Yeah, heaven forfend. I did learn some as a child, I know, and the only one that I half remember is The Walrus and the Carpenter by Lewis Carroll, which is complete and utter balderdash. Yeah, so there we go. Question number 4. Who or what do you consider to be an underrated and underappreciated author or book? Now, my kind of go-to place for this usually is women writers from the British Isles in the first half of the 20th century. You know, people like Rosamund Lehman and Sylvia Townsend Warner. That's who I usually sort of dredge out for this kind of question. But I thought of a different one this time, and that is a book. And the book is Of Love and Hunger, which was published in 1947 and is by Julian McLaren Ross, male English writer. It's set in 1939, and if I tell you that it's about the life and loves of a vacuum cleaner salesman, you'll probably think that sounds terrible, but actually it's really rather a brilliant book, I think. The only really brilliant novel he wrote, although he was a good writer, but he was too drunk most of the time to kind of keep the focus to write whole novels, I suspect. But yeah, the war is looming in it, and yeah, it's yeah, damn fine book. And it's in my mind because I just sent a copy of it to Alan in of Big Old Books and Classics. It's a little present. Question number 5. Which book do you consider to have the best or most memorable beginning? Oh, I'm a connoisseur of brilliant first lines, aren't we all? And loads of them kind of come into your head when you think of this, but they're all the obvious ones. I love the fact that even really obvious ones, like say like the first line of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, last night I dreamt I went to Mandalay again. That has been said so many times, and it's parodied so often, and yet it still works for me. It's still magic. But I'm going to pick a much sillier or one for this, and that is it was the day my grandmother exploded, which is the first line of The Crow Road by Ian Banks, and you can't, unbeatable, that one, isn't it? Good for him. Certainly gets you to sort of sit up and listen. Question number 6. Which book title best describes your life? Okay, I've got the book here to show you, and that's Between the Woods and the Water by Patrick Leigh Fermor. And I've gone serious for this one rather than flippant, because I'm not always a flippity-gibbet. And this one for me, because where I kind of grew up, I lived right by the woods, and I spent all my any opportunity I had to kind of disappear off by myself, maybe with a book, it was into the woods. But most of my adult life I've lived by the sea. So Between Woods and Water is my life, and 2 things that I really love. Question number 7. What was the last book you read that led to a moistening of the eyes? Easy answer, this one, and that's Summer by Ali Smith, which I read kind of around Christmas New Year time. And when I got to the end of that, I actually, quite weirdly for me, not just a moistening of the eyes, it actually made me sob. But I think it was a cathartic sort of experience that was more to do with like COVID and lockdown and so many things, that somehow that book just for once brought it out. I really love that book, I have to say. Question number 8. When it's time to shuffle off this mortal coil and go to the big library in the sky, what bookish or literary quote would you like engraved on your headstone? Now, again, I have a problem with this question because I'm not going to have a headstone, and a few people responding to this tag have said exactly the same. I'm really hoping to be buried in some sort of cardboard box, and a little tree planted on top. So there'll be no headstone to engrave this on, which is a bit conflicting for me, actually, because one thing I really enjoy doing is wandering around graveyards and cemeteries, reading the inscriptions on gravestones, headstones. So it's kind of like cheating a bit not to have one myself. So I'm going to pretend that I do, or it can be kind of, maybe somebody could carve it into the bark of the tree when it's grown enough, or hang it from the branches. I don't know, and it will be in a fairground, and that's a line from Kipling's poem Sussex, and I'd like to think that, yeah, after I'm dead, I'm in a fairground. Question number 9. If you wrote a book and didn't want to use your own name, what name would you use as your, like, nom de plume, you know? And, well, again, a problem, because I'm never going to have the patience and perseverance to write a whole book. That is the flippity gibbet coming out again. It's just not going to happen. And if by some miracle it did, I'd certainly want my own name on it. But just in case I couldn't, I would obviously use my alter ego name here on BookTube, which is Scaly Dandelion, which I'm told is what BookTube turns Scally Dandling into in the subtitles. Thank you, Jim and Steve, for giving me that name. Scaly Dandelion I am, and so it would be that. And finally, question number 10. Many literary characters have sidekicks or henchmen. Who would you choose to be your companion in your life's adventures? Well, now, this can't be real life because, I've got a life companion, and he's not at all bad, and he loves reading books and talking to me about them. So, this, in all ways through life adventures, he's spot on, my Steve. But I feel we have to interpret this as, what literary kind of character would you like to be your sidekick or hench person? And so I was tempted to pick Patrick Lee Fermor, who wrote this book, and he's like a travel writer, and what would be good about him is wherever you went, he would know all the history, he'd tell you lots of interesting facts, he'd know the best thing to eat, find the best things to drink, he would learn the language, he would make friends with people, but on the other hand, he might be a bit kind of blokey and full of himself. So I'm actually going to pick Titty from Swallows and Amazons. If you've read Arthur Ransom's Swallows and Amazons series, you will know that Titty may not be the best character. That might be Nancy, but Titty's the one that you would want as your mate, your companion, because she's both sensible and practical and adventurous and fearless, but also tells a really good story. And in an odd sort of way, it would be a bit like having Tilly, my daughter, as my sidekick or hench person in adventures, I think, if I had Titty from Swallows and Amazons. So there we go. That's the last prompt. That's the end. And I've already done my tagging at the beginning. So have a great week, everybody. And I shall try next weekend to have like a serious video with proper reviews in it or something, rather than tags and frivolity. And yes, balderdash and tittle tattle. Bye.